Okay, this is part two of our income and expense statements. Some other expenses are our insurance. Insurance is a product that transfers risk from an individual to an insurance company or organization. For example, we have health insurance, which covers our medical needs. We have property and liability, home, which is your home and your automobile mixed together. You have your life insurance, that is if somebody passes away in your family. And then there's disability, which means you cannot work. You have some type of long term or short term disability. What expenses would be under the housing category? House payments, which is your rent or your mortgage. Remember, rent is if I do not own the house, mortgage is if I do own the house. So, some things that I would put under housing costs would be my rent or mortgage, of course, my utilities, my property tax. Remember, I have to pay property tax to be on the land, maintenance to the house, household furnishings, and then home or renter's insurance. So you would include the insurance for the home area. What expenses would I put in transportation? I've got personal automobiles, which most of us use. That's your loan payment, in other words, your car payment, fuel, license and registration, repairs and maintenance, and insurance. Again, you would include insurance for the car. There's also public transportation fees if you use that. For example, the bus or taxi. Some examples of what would go in the food category. This is the easiest one. We all eat, so it would be groceries, the meals eaten at restaurants, snacks away from home, and kitchen supplies. So you can also put your kitchen supplies in there. What expenses were recorded in other categories or will be recorded? Family member care, which is your child care, allowances for children, and care for other dependents. Meaning, care for other dependents could be like you have an elderly mother living with you or grandmother, and you have to pay for someone to come and watch. Communication and computers. We definitely all have a cell phone bill, internet service, and cable satellite television. Medical costs that are not covered by insurance, because if so, it would be in your insurance bill. So it'd be medical care, your co-payments, or any other thing that's not covered by your insurance. Dental care and medications. Clothing and personal care. Shampoo, toothpaste, haircuts, and hair for my girls that like to buy hair. Some other things in the other category is educational expenses, tuition, like private lessons and tutoring, supplies, pet care, got food, vet cost, and boarding. Entertainment. We all have entertainment. We like to go to the movies, music, or any other form of entertainment that you have to pay for. Credit cost, credit cards, and student loans. Gifts and charitable contributions also can be under there under expenses. Make the income and expense statement your own. Customize the categories to represent all income and expenses you have. It's kind of like the financial statement where we didn't all have certain pieces. If this is something you do regularly, then what you could do is customize the expenses that you use on a daily basis. Specific categories may be more specific or more effective, excuse me. So there's no need in wasting space for a section that you never use, and it could be more effective. Find a tracking method that works for you. You're going to record it in writing. In other words, how are you going to keep up with what you are spending? Okay, like Could be an app on a phone. You can record it in writing, smartphone, keeping receipts, depository institution account statements. Remember, this is our bank statements that we've talked about. Money management computer software programs. This would be a program like Quicken or some type of smart books, something like that. Most of you are going to do the top three because you're younger. And even for myself, I use more this method. I use a lot of this method with the account statements because I don't want to keep up with all this, so I just go back and look based off of my account. A written system is more effective than a mental system. It is very, very much like what we talked about with our SMART goals. If we write down our SMART goals, then we are more likely to keep them, especially if we keep going back and visiting them. Now, if we don't go back and look at them, we have no idea if we're on the right track. A net gain or a net loss. This is income minus expenses equals net gain or net loss. So this is kind of like what you did in your statement. It's just a different form. With your statement of finances, it was liabilities subtracted from your assets, which gave you net worth. Here, we're subtracting our expenses from our income, which is, do we have a net gain or do we have a net loss? So here we're keeping up with how we have spent our money. Okay, if we have a plus, of course, that's a net gain. If we have a negative, then that is a net loss. The goal is to have income from other sources other than drawing down savings or selling assets greater than expenses. So in other words, we just want our income to be greater than our expenses. Net gain. Use that money for savings or other expenses. Net loss. Increase income and or decrease expenses. So if I have a net gain, we can use that money to save or own something else that we may need. But a net loss, then we've got to find a way to increase our income and decrease our expenses. Maybe we're paying for something that we don't need. Again, this is how all this fits together. We just did with our statement of financial position. This is what my financial position is today. That's my net worth. Here, we're going to be doing how have I spent my money in the past. And then a spending plan is going to help you plan your spending so that you don't get yourself in a bind in the future. Just to summarize what we've done, tells you where your money is coming from and where it's going. This is your income and expense statement. You've got your three components as you see circled: income, expenses, and net gain or loss. Use a tracking method that works best for you, and customize income and expense categories. Of course, next we are going to actually do an income and expense statement together. This time we're going to do one on video, but now we'll have to go to part 3 because of the time limit on our videos. So you can close this one out and go to part 3 to meet Evan.